Well, hello. Welcome to day two of Bitcoin for Corporations. I'm really excited about day two. We're going to have a set of exclusive interviews with the leading vendors in the Bitcoin space, the companies that are capable of providing products and services to corporations that would want to integrate Bitcoin into their P&L or put it on their balance sheet. And I'm starting with one of the figures I really admire in this space. Brett Tejbal is the head of institutional services for Coinbase. I've done business with Brett. I've done business with Coinbase. So I count myself as one of their customers. I'm really looking forward to this interview today because I'm sure I'm going to find out stuff about Coinbase's institutional services that I didn't know. And so without further ado, Brett, welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for the warm introduction, and I'm delighted to have been invited back. Thank you very much, Michael.
So, Brett, this is all about Bitcoin and corporations. So, tell us about Coinbase, its company, its background, its employees, its investors. What do corporations need to know about Coinbase?
Well, the first one to call out really is the fact that we're the largest publicly traded crypto company in the world. So I think I want to lead with that. At Coinbase, we talk about building the crypto economy. And when we talk about that, we're talking about a more fair, accessible, efficient, and transparent financial system enabled by crypto. When I think about our Coinbase Prime platform, which is really the base layer for institutions here, it's differentiated. And it's differentiated in that it offers a seamless experience between trading and custody. A little more about the company. We've got 73 million verified users. As of September 30th, we had 255 billion of assets on platform. And so, Michael, that represents 12.2% of all of crypto. So we're the largest custodian, I think, by a country mile. What's interesting about that number is that 139 billion of it, or 54.5%, call it 55%, is actually the majority of it is from institutions. And that's been a notable change and an increase over the course of the past couple of years. We've got more than 3,000 employees. On the institutional client side, I'm proud to say we have over 10,000 clients. We were, some stats that institutional trading volume was 234 billion, and institutional volume compromises 72% of the total trading volume. So
234 billion over what time frame?
That was the third quarter of last.
Oh, that's a quarter. That's not a year.
Nope. I've got some more stats on trading volumes later in our conversation.
Okay. So, what kind of products and services do you offer for corporations?
So, big picture, I want to say crypto as an investment. So that's coming to us and saying, hey, we'd like to deploy some capital in the space. How do we do it? So whether you're buying 10 million of crypto or a billion, we're the go-to platform for that. The next big bucket is crypto as a new financial system. This goes back to my opening comment about talking about the crypto economy. So I'd like people to think about us as a hub for doing crypto-powered financial services. So what does that mean? That means not just trading and custody, but also brokerage and staking and smart contracts and NFT and DeFi and financing and a whole suite of services. And the last big bucket is crypto as a platform. So we're lesser known for this, but that's where in the institutional space you can use Coinbase's infrastructure to power your own clients' experiences. So we just recently launched Coinbase Cloud. You have a whole stack of APIs that go to the prime broker, but think about things like wallet as a service, right? So in enabling other what I call introducing brokers to use our technology to be able to offer crypto to their clients.
Yeah, so if I'm a fintech and I want to offer a wallet that has access to crypto assets, then you could be the back end.
100%. That's exactly right, and that's a growing focus. We've got quite a lot of inbound because with all the advocacy you're doing to get people into this space, not everyone starts by deploying capital directly as a speculative investment. Some may say, well, I want to take, I want to use Coinbase Commerce to accept crypto payment. I may want to use your custodian to actually store NFTs. And so that's a.
So you could be a payment service, or you could be an acquisition OEM platform for someone that wanted to do either of those, and maybe other things in the middle, transfer.
Yep.
Or the like.
Yep.
Okay. So, hey, tell us about your customer base and the corporate clients. 10,000 institutions. 10,000. Where do I stand on that 10,000?
Right at the top.
Okay, good answer. We can continue the interview.
So we've been allowed to announce partnerships with a bunch of notable clients over the course of the past year. Obviously, number one, very, very happy to have you as a client and an active client and an amazing and sophisticated client. We can also talk about Grayscale. So Grayscale is the world's largest digital asset manager. We've made reference to Tudor and Third Point. Those are two leading, hedge funds. We've talked about what I'll call traditional asset managers like PIMCO and Wisdom Tree, One River, another name. We've talked about large challenger banks and traditional banks, partnership with PNC as an example. We've talked about partnerships with SpaceX and Tesla. And of course, we have a wide swath of family offices and private banks and pensions. I know you're always keen to sort of highlight public companies. Metu is a Chinese consumer tech company, and they actually we helped them buy Bitcoin and ETH on their balance sheet. And then I'd say, Michael, there's this emerging theme that's really starting to pick up over the course of the past month or two. We talked about it a little bit in our prep session, but more, I'm getting sort of global retailers, all right, and sort of, I would say, unexpected large global companies who want to do their first series of NFT engagement. And when they do that, they might need the services that we provide to enable them to go buy some ETH or sell it or custody or do different things. And so we have this cool cascade of interested public companies that are thinking through their NFT strategy. And in so doing, I think they will wind up having some Bitcoin in their treasury.
So the explosion of the crypto economy and all this innovation is driving a lot of mainstream companies to look for a qualified trader, custodian partner. So they find you, and that puts them into the business potentially of holding in their treasury as well as payment, processing, trading, or product integration.
That's exactly right. And it may start with them saying, well, we might accept payments, but we just want to instantly convert them, back into cash. But I've noticed over time that with the comfort of and having a little bit of risk appetite, they're not instantaneously selling all their crypto. So it's good to see.
We like that.
Yep.
So what's the typical customer journey for a corporation that wants to do business with Coinbase?
Well, of course, we lead with KYC and AML, so we have to perform that. But we go through an onboarding process. That process can be anywhere from sort of 48 hours to maybe a week long, depending on how fast the clients can go.
48 hours to a week. That sounds good.
Yeah, it's an improvement from what it was.
It took me like 12 weeks or 8 weeks or something.
Oh, when you blazed the trail,
Back in the days when we were using stone axes and ox carts.
Yep. So then, so once you're onboarded, then I like to do quite a lot of prep work. Again, you know this, but I like to do a test trade. So you can sort of buy something on the way in, let's reverse it on the way out. So just make sure that the pipes and plumbing work. But most importantly, I like to see corporations taking our advice on hardening their security. And so I'm a stickler for that, as you know. And I like to see them think through protocols of who can do what in what set of circumstances and checks and balances and preventative tools, so that we just can't allow any fat fingers or mistakes. And I'm proud to say that we haven't had any in terms of execution. So if we can get everyone comfortable on how to use the platform, and then if you can get us comfortable that everyone's taken, corporations taking our best advice on how to harden their security, then we're ready to execute in the marketplace.
It's totally reasonable.
Right?
Totally reasonable.
And then on some of the larger, transactions, we've done many multi-billion trades. We might have a consultation with the trading team. So the trading team is monitoring markets all the time. And going through, we'll make recommendations and say, if you're going for this amount of size, based on liquidity at this time, on a weekend, on a Tuesday, during the evening, we think that this would be the appropriate way. And we measure market impact, and then we fine tune that as we go.
Can you say something about your OTC desk? Because I think that's kind of interesting corporate service to corporate.
Yeah, thanks for shouting that out. So we have an OTC stands for over the counter trading. So any of our large clients can actually speak to the trading desk at any point in time. They operate 24/7, just like crypto markets. And so that team is always active, always online, which is, a particular challenge to make sure, in this world that I hire and manage teams in a way that they can deliver into clients at all times. And so that's fantastic, because when we've been doing some of the larger multi-billion, you want to be able to take advantage of, liquidity in Asia, and things change throughout time. And so having that team be able to speed up or slow down the execution and always being in the marketplace is definitely a competitive advantage for us. And then the last step is actually the post-trade reporting. So show me that I got best price. And so we give all the data, and we can sort of audit the algorithms and prove that we've given best execution to clients.
So what's your outlook for the Bitcoin marketplace in the coming 1 to 3 years?
So I was pulling some stats together on this, and I've definitely noticed and been a part of the increased liquidity in this asset classes. But I was pulling some stats, and here's some stats to share with you. So everyone knows the story of the crypto winter, and sort of liquidity trailed off, and daily volume on Bitcoin was only 500,000. Which is, not great. In the period from sort of mid 2020 up through the end of last year, daily liquidity volume trade is actually 1 million Bitcoin per day. Now that may not sound like a big change, but then if you overlay the price impact on top of that, we're talking about 10x. So 39 billion a day is the average, right, of where we get to. So, modest in terms of, only twice, 500,000 to 1 million in Bitcoin terms, but 10x in terms of value. And so the market cap, I think the liquidity picture is really important to being able to attract more institutional capital into the space, knowing that you can transact confidently in large sizes at any time. So that's a stat I wanted to share. The other one I wanted to share was the market cap of Bitcoin. Right. So, and I looked at the market cap of Bitcoin relative to global central bank liquidity. Right. And in that sort of prior period, it was kind of irrelevant at almost zero. So it was 0.6% in December of 2019. And by November of 2021, it's 3.3%. So I think this asset class, in terms of establishing itself, needs to operate at scale. And I think that's one good stat to call out there.
Okay, so it's coming to life.
It's coming to life. And then one more stat to share with you. So I looked at the number of large transactions. So, and I define large as more than 1 million. And if you look at that stat, we've had more than a 4 times increase in transactions over 1 million. So we went from an average of 1,300 per day to 5,500 per day by the end of 2021. And I can't unpick the data to say this is a day trader or retail or this, but I associate that stat with institutional adoption.
Okay. Do you see any other major changes over the past year as it relates to corporate views toward Bitcoin?
Corporate views towards Bitcoin. More and more exploration of wanting to get involved. And so we have deeper and deeper engagement. I think I heard you earlier talk about the accounting as a challenge for corporates, but I would say they're more inclined to listen, to do work, and to want to engage. There's a lot of use cases that are centered around payments. And so payments seems to be both micropayments and larger payments.
A lot of companies coming to you, wanting you to help them solve the cryptocurrency payment issue.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's kind of maps back to my Coinbase Cloud reference earlier in using our infrastructure, but that's certainly an emerging theme. The other thing,
Go ahead. Oh, go ahead.
I just want to say one bigger picture thing that I think is really notable and helps the asset class. So, which is the establishment of stablecoins, right? So stablecoin balances are, I think, 153 billion today. And the reason why that's important is because in a still slightly unfamiliar asset class, and you've got, Bitcoin, you know more than anyone about the volatility of Bitcoin. But if the only choice available to institutions, either I own Bitcoin or I'm out because I sold Bitcoin, but we'll have capital flight that leaves the asset class. So stable coins are really important because if you want to begin to trade a little bit and you have a risk off moment,
they're the risk off asset.
Then you can sort of put your capital into a stable coin, which definitionally holds its value. And so we're not having capital flight leave the asset class. And so I think that's a great development. I think keeps people invested in the space.
So that went from like 30 billion to 150 billion in 12 months?
It went from 10 billion in 2018 to 153 billion today. And even if you look at the past, I have a chart here on my screen I can share afterwards. It's just up and to the right. And so if you look at the balances of December, January, where you had this sort of marked sell-off, you actually seen a very steep increase in stablecoin balances, which I think supports the point that we're keeping capital in crypto.
Yeah, I mean, the news last night was in Lebanon, the banks have frozen everybody's assets, converted them into local currency, devalued them 93%, and they're going to hand back, a few percentage points of your money over 15 years at the advice of the IMF and the World Bank. And if I was sitting in these countries, I would be thinking, how do I convert to crypto dollars or some kind of stable coin and take possession of it? Because dollars in the bank are not the same as dollars in your pocket. That's for sure. Does Coinbase handle Circle, Tether? Is there a particular stable coin of choice here, or do you trade them all, or what?
We've got USDC and Tether on the platform. I'm, indifferent. I like to describe our platform as a platform where you can do a host of different things. So we don't have a preference of one or the other, but those are the two main stable coins that I see people using the most.
So Brett, I see a big growth there. You're head of institutional at Coinbase. If you look at how busy you are today or how many companies you work with versus a year ago, I mean, I might be able to parse this from your quarterlies. I don't know, but could you give me a rough sense year over year of how the business has changed in any measure?
Well, I think the headline stat that institutional assets are, half with retail assets, and the institutional business, at least at Coinbase, is really only scaling over the course of the past year to two, I would say. So I think that's pretty interesting.
What do you think that ratio would have been in 2018 or 2017?
Single digit percentages, with the bulk of it concentrated with family office and high net worth.
So maybe the institutional business went from like 10% to 50%?
Yeah, about that. That's about right. Another metric would be my team was 5 people. We've got 150 today. So that's how we're able to have a 24/7 trading operation. You
guys are growing faster than stable coins.
We are growing fast. We're growing as a company very, very quickly, and it's a lot of fun to be a part of it.
Okay, so what's next? What advice would you offer to corporations that are looking to integrate Bitcoin into their P&L or their balance sheet?
I would say just the big picture. I know this is Bitcoin specific, but I would say it's really hard, I think, for the leadership of any corporation right now not to sort of dig in and understand and explore the relationship that they may wind up having with digital assets and Bitcoin specifically. And so we're seeing digital transformation rock every single industry and disrupt it. And, this NFT moment that we're having now is another such example of sort of a forcing function of thinking through the relationship that companies have with their clients, their supply chain, and others. And so the advice I have is please engage us in a conversation. Would love to demonstrate the tools, would love to talk about increasing people's education and familiarity. And then let's act with purpose once you get there.
Okay. How does Coinbase compare itself to other vendors in this space? Do you have any particular specialty, or how would you contrast your offering?
From a big picture perspective, I think our Prime platform is super differentiated, right? And so even in your early experiences with us, you had trading over here and custody over there, and sort of by design, you could choose to have any number of different engagements with us. What clients really want is a singular platform on which is the base and foundational layer on which we can bring new product experiences, financing, derivatives, other things through time. And so that I think is the compelling differentiating factor. Plus, me, my team, everyone else, we've spent careers catering to institutional clients. So we're trusted, and we understand the specific needs of sophisticated clients. And so that I think is a differentiating factor for us.
Can I ask one ministerial question? What's your cutoff for institution? Like, if I show up to you with $10 million of capital to invest, is that enough? Do I need 100 million? Is 1 million the cutoff? Do you have a general feel?
It's a trick question. So the question is, all are welcome. And what I'd love to see is not everything has to be super high touch, right? And so if you're a developer, you can build a Coinbase Cloud, you can plug in through APIs, you can use our interface, you can do commerce integrations, you have the notion of enterprise sales. And so every door is open. And so really the only minimum we would talk about is probably on the Prime platform, and a handful of millions sort of thing as a guideline. But I'd like to welcome everyone to participate, and not everyone needs the super high touch version of it, right? Sometimes it's just a plug and play, wallet as a service integration, and then move on.
Okay, so let's talk about the future. What are your plans for the future, and what's your vision for Coinbase Institutional Services, and maybe Coinbase in general, if you want to share any of that with us?
I just hope for I think that during the past year in particular, I think the asset class, if I look at anything, if I look at what's on the news on an hourly basis or anywhere else, I feel like the asset class itself has established itself as a place that is appropriate for large institutions, corporates, and others to allocate capital to it. And when I think through the investment activity that we're targeting, I see that growing for sure. And our founder, Brian, talks about the utility phase of crypto, and we're having more and more use cases, right? Accepting payment, commerce, NFTs, other new engagements. That too is bringing in more institutional capital and a diversity of type of institutional client into this space. And so I'm really excited about continuing to build to meet the needs of those that want to do the specific sort of capital deployment into the space, but then also cater to providing the infrastructure I described to enable third parties to create their own, native experiences with their own, clients. And so I really see the Coinbase Institutional platform just being differentiated and growing over time to meet the needs of these sort of expanding use cases that we're seeing come to life.
Okay. We covered all the items on my checklist. We've got a couple minutes left. Do you have any final words for corporations looking at Bitcoin?
I would just call out the fact that thank you again for being such a big advocate, because I think with your constant advocacy, I think it's great, and you're forcing topics and discussions on accounting and other things that are a part of this. I would just personally ask that I would love for those watching this to find us. So
how do they find you? How do we get to Coinbase?
So You can hit up Coinbase Prime. And that's the best way. You could go to Coinbase.com. You'll see it there as well. But you can find us. There's a million ways to find me. And of course, Michael, you've been great in terms of some warm introductions to big corporates that eventually became our clients as well. So please keep those coming too.
Okay. If you have $1 billion and you want to invest it in Bitcoin, you could call me. I'll give you references, the inside scoop, and I will hook you up with Brett and the team. Thank you, Brett, for your time.
Thank you, Michael.
And for your services as well, and all the best during the coming year. So
Awesome.
that ends our first Bitcoin for Corporation strategic vendor session. We'll follow up shortly with number 2. Thank you for joining.